Poke the Bear is brought to you by PrizePicks.
And welcome into Poke the Bear, episode 350, presented by PrizePicks. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $50 back when you play just $5. And are presented by CLNS Media. Make sure to go subscribe to Bruins Ringside on YouTube. Lots of great content, interviews, podcasts, press conferences throughout the year, some live streams from time to time. And if you don't like looking at us, if you're like, these guys, not my kind of guys, and you just want to listen and you love our voices, well, you can go subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, wherever you like. And then also there's a lot of other great content at CLNS, Patriots Press Pass, Celtics All Access. Pats are fully in training camp. Connor, you're there. So CLNS is there as well. And then Celtics just never seems to stop. I'm Evan Marinofski. That is Conor Ryan. Connor, what's up?
Evan, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. Doing great. It's the dog days of summer, early August. You are a big August is the worst month of the year guy, or one of the worst. Maybe not the worst, but one of the worst.
Overrated.
I'm with you. Very overrated month. Very, very. I was talking about this with one of my friends. He's like, I love August. It's so great. You know, it's like the last month. And I'm like, that's why I don't like it. It's the last month of summer. It's like you get the back to school commercials. I don't even go to school anymore. And those back to school commercials hurt. When I see like
Terrible.
the YouTube ads for the Gap or whatever, or just like on TV.
Target. Yeah.
It just kills me. It's like, I get that like PTSD from being a kid again. And I don't love it.
Yeah. And even now, like, I think for us, for what we do and how messed up our schedules are, we like get excited for fall. I already think fall is the best season anyway. Like I'm all for sweater weather, all that stuff, going trick-or-treating at 32, you know, all the things that us
dressing up
as people do. Yeah, absolutely. Love the fall. But like, I'm also excited, you know, you get into football season's in full swing. Obviously hockey's back, all that stuff. Now, when you get to August, you're like, let's jump ahead. Let's skip the cutscene and get into like the nitty gritty. Right. And I almost feel like right now you're just kind of knocking the days down. And listen, I'll take the good weather. I'll take all that, but it's almost like you already gotten all summered out. Right. And so now you're ready to move on. And now we're just kind of talking about nothing. I think we're talking about Canopy Lake this whole episode, right?
That's the whole episode, start to finish. Well, it's like when you start seeing ESPN tweet the clips or the highlights of like the Little League World Series, it's like, yeah, that's the time.
Give me college football. Yeah. Give me college game day.
All due respect to those kids and good for them. It is funny watching, you know, some of the highlights, but it's like, that's the time of year we're in. That's the time of year. I'm with it. I think I like spring a little bit more. And I only say that because for New England Hockey Journal, spring is like the one time in my schedule where it's not crazy busy. Like April, May, early June, pretty quiet. So I don't hate that. And you have like playoffs for NBA and NHL, baseball's starting up. I always say like that 60-degree day in like February or March is just like, that's peak. I love it. So I'm with you. It's either spring or fall. Winter's too cold. Summer is scorching hot, and August has nothing going on. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. But we still have some topics to get to today. Some interesting sort of look aheads to the season. And you brought this question up to me, Connor, and I think it's an interesting one. You know, we harp on this coming Bruins team quite a bit, that they're going to be meh, that their offense is going to be boring, and all these different things. And you brought this question up. Who scores 20 goals on this Bruins team? Who are the 20 goal or more getters? I think there's one who we expect to hit that, and that person is Tanner Jeannot.
Morgan Geeky. Oh, yes.
Tanner Jeannot. Duh. Obvious pick for 20 plus goals. No, it's David Pastrnak. I mean, that's like not a question. I don't think that's debatable at all. But after Pastrnak, who do you have?
It's kind of tough, right? In terms of like guys that are locks, right? Because I think there's a lot of guys who are in that fringe, like 15 to 25 goals. But there's how many of these guys are you like comfortably penciling in, right? Because you've got like Morgan Geeky. And I do think that as much as you look at the shooting percentage, I still think like another full year with David Pastrnak, another year as a featured player on the power play, like, is he going to be a 30 goal scorer? I'm not sure, but like I think he can score 25 goals like pretty
Agreed.
consistently if he's in that, especially on that line with Pastrnak. I'm not too surprised about that. But after that, it's a lot of guys who could do it, but also like doesn't feel like this team has like 5 or 6 guys who are going to score like 18 goals. And maybe you don't need...
I was looking through the roster, Connor, and I was like, I had the same reaction of like, I don't know if I'm going to say 20, but like 17 maybe, like
which again, like you don't need like 5 or 6 guys that are 70-point players, or you don't need 5 30 goal scorers or anything like that. If you're able to distribute the scoring output pretty evenly, or just have David Pastrnak with like 58 goals or something like that, and the rest kind of falls into place. But beyond Geeky, right? Like I don't really know who's that next guy up that I think you can comfortably put in that spot. Like I even think like Elias Lindholm could have a really, really good year. But like maybe he's got like, let's say that like Elias Lindholm has a 60-point season. Doesn't mean he's going to be like a 30 and 30 guy. Could be like 18 goals and something like that. Victor Arvidsson, you would like to think where he's got 5 20-goal seasons that he's someone you could look at, but also look at who he's playing with. That feels like the meanest thing I've ever said about Casey Middlestat. But like, there's just not.
That's just ruined Casey.
I know.
So sad.
But like, I think you look at that line. There's a lot that you can like about Zacha, Middlestat, and Arvidsson, but it's not a guarantee, right? Same with like Zacha. Zacha is a guy who's had almost 3 50-point seasons. He came up just short this past year where he was kind of banged up a little bit, but he could be a 20-goal guy. It's just there's a lot that you can look at with this group, and you could say like, well, maybe like Victor Arvidsson could be a 25-goal guy, or like Zacha could if he has more of a shot first mentality, and who knows, maybe like where Casey Middlestat, I don't think he's going to be a 20-goal player, but if he's, now that he doesn't have Vinny Lettieri and Cole Koepke, also very mean that I said that about them. I'm just ripping the entire team.
Yeah, everybody's taking it today.
But I think you do look at the fact that he has a little bit of a stronger supporting cast this year on that line. Maybe you can unlock more, but there's not a lot of guys you can look at. This isn't like the 22-23 Bruins where you're like, hell, like Taylor Hall could have 20 goals on the third line, right? It's not going to be that situation. You don't have the guys that you look at that you can expect to have that baseline level of production. It's kind of like how the Bruins are this entire year of how we're mapping it out. Like they could be good, but you're kind of reaching in terms of like going right now in early August to be like, we're going to get this from this group. Like, I just don't think you have that clarity at this stage of the offseason.
You don't. And I was even looking at their roster of who are candidates who could get 20 goals. And to me, it's the 6 guys in the projected top 6: Pastrnak, Geeky, Zacha, Arvidsson, Elias Lindholm, and Casey Middlestat. Middlestat surprisingly has never had 20 goals in a season before. So never hit it. Doesn't mean he's not going to hit it this year. But to me, I look at like Middlestat and Lindholm down the middle as guys who probably will serve more as distributors. Yeah. And as you said with Lindholm, like he could have 60 points and not hit 20 goals. It's just a lot of assists, and that's fine. Like, just take it.
16 goals and like 46 assists is like a great year, right?
Great
like,
math. Impeccable math.
I don't even know what that number is, but
I don't know what it is. Yeah, I thought you were trying to get it to 60. Then I was doing the math in my head.
No, I just threw those numbers up. I'm like, that sounds like it's over. Okay.
I don't think that hits 60, but maybe it hits. It's over 60, I think. Anyway, we can't do. Well, this is not a math. Yeah, please pull up the calculator.
Yeah.
But again, like even Lindholm on the first line with Geeky and Pastrnak. Geeky should hit over 20 goals. I'm with you, like somewhere in that 25 range.
Let's 985. I did the math wrong.
You don't even know how to enter the number into the calculator.
Yes. It was 62. It was 62 points.
Perfect. Okay, that's perfect. 62 points for Elias Lindholm, 16 goals and 46 assists. We'll lock that in. That hits 62. So yeah.
We really suck at math. Anyway.
We're terrific. But my point, this is like when we had the Stefan Noesen was writing for the Islanders.
That was a great moment.
Poor guy. But down the middle, I mean, I think on that first line, like if Geeky's going to get you 25 goals and Pasternak's going to get you hopefully north of 40, well, Elias Lindholm's probably more of a distributor. Is he hitting 20 goals? Like, I think he's hitting 20 goals if you're a really good team. I don't think you're a really good team, though. So I think it's more in that, like, I don't know, 17 to 19 goal range. Like, maybe hits 20, maybe not. And then on that second line, like if it's going to be Zacha, Middlestat, and Arvidsson. Like, I could see one of Zacha or Arvidsson hitting 20 goals. I don't know if I see both. And I think if they put Arvidsson on that power play and a shot first role, and he's a shot first guy in general, I would take Arvidsson over Zacha for 20 goals. But Zacha's done it before. I just don't think you're gonna have I don't think you're gonna have a ton of guys getting 20 goals. Like, Pastrnak and Geekie should be your two fairly certain locks, and then maybe Arvidsson, maybe Zacha. Like, if things go really well, Elias Lindholm could be. Yeah. But I think you're looking at like 3, maybe 4.
You're not buying to the Matej Blumel hype. You think he's...
Well, I want to talk about him later for a certain roster spot, but maybe, like, there are people who have mentioned him for that, and I need to see more. Like, I haven't watched him enough.
There's just so much uncertainty of, like, not even the personnel of what, like, let's say that third line's going to be, because you could map out 50 different combinations of who could make up that grouping, but every single one of them doesn't have, I don't think, players that are a lock, right? Like, I don't think Tanner Jeannot is going to be a 20-goal guy. I don't think even if Matt Poitras, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, is going to be a 20-goal guy. He's another, like, kind of distributor anyway, but whether it's like Lysell, Blumel, any one of these guys, Steve, someone like that, you'd have to be really reaching or really drinking the Kool-Aid to, if we do our bold predictions in September, being like, yeah, I think Matej Blumel is going to be check Craig Smith. Guy, like, 21 goal season from the guy. Like, I don't think that's going to happen.
That's a big jump. That'd be a big jump. From
quite a bit.
And yes, he's producing a lot in the AHL, but that does not exactly equate to you're going to be a 20-goal scorer in the NHL. And so that's why I think when you look at this, I agree there is uncertainty. Different things could happen. I just don't see enough happening where it's like, oh, they're a playoff team. Like, the offense is so good up front that they're cruising. And look, they'll have their strong parts of the season. They'll have nice stretches, and they'll have stretches where, you know, Victor Arvidsson has 5 goals in 8 games or something like that, and he's cooking. But to be like, oh, yeah, you know, you're going to get so much production out of these guys that you're going to be third in the Atlantic or second in the Atlantic, I just don't see happening. And look, you hope that those guys can all be consistent enough production-wise. Your power play should be better. That'll equate to more goals. And if this top 6 is the way it is and they kind of keep it together, then chemistry can be formed, all those different things. I also think you go the other direction too. Like, you know, we've talked a lot about Elias Lindholm. You know, he can be the guy at the end of last season and into Worlds and how good he was. But what if he isn't? Morgan Geekie, what if last year was an outlier? Like, what if he is just going to revert to being a 15-goal scorer and he doesn't work with Pastrnak in year 2 and teams have enough film to kind of shut him down, all those different things? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but like, that's sort of the one end of the spectrum with this group. And then there's the other end. And I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle, and it's going to be somewhere that's like, 3 guys hit 20 goals. And that's nice, but I don't think it's going to be anything, you know, off the charts.
Yeah, I think you're asking for a lot if it's other guys that, if we go to the end of the year and you've got like 5 guys and it's one guy on the third line who you didn't expect, and then like 2 of like Zacha and Arvidsson, if he's still here, if the Bruins are like contending, then that's the whole thing. If that's the case, then you're probably in the playoffs. And I don't know if that's a lock, nor do I think you can say right now if that's going to be the case. Like, there's just, you know, we're at this stage of the offseason just talking about what could happen or anything like that. But there's just so much unknown with this team that until you get to the actual season, I couldn't put a proper gauge on what we're expecting, other than a team that, if they are good, are I think going to win a lot of 2-1 games. Like, if the defense rebounds and the goaltending and the power play has a little bit of an uptick, that's probably enough to maybe switch some of your fortunes a little bit. But I can't see all of a sudden I think there's a sleeping giant in this offense, though, like that they're just waiting to unlock or anything like that. I think that even if this team does take a step forward, that is going to be an ongoing work in progress in terms of adding offensive talent and skill to this group.
I mean, you even look at like Tanner Jeannot. Everybody references back to that 21-22 season with Nashville, where he had 24 goals and 41 points in 81 games. And it was like, oh my God, this young guy is going to be taking over the league.
Tom Wilson.
Like the next Tom Wilson, the next great power forward. Like, he's not even in a role, I don't think, where he could even put up those stats, right? Like, and it just based off of projections. Now, if he moves into the top 6 and plays well enough, then maybe, yeah. But like, if he's your 4th line left wing, which is what we kind of expect him to be, maybe 3rd line left wing, he's not going to be in positions to put up those kinds of numbers. So like, I don't think he's a sleeping giant either, unless he has a phenomenal training camp and he's like a different player and he's somehow in your top 6 start the year, which isn't insane. I don't really see that happening. And that's the thing where it's like, if he's in a bottom 6 role, I don't think you're expecting that kind of production from him. If you get it, great. But I think that's a hard thing to expect. So I agree with you. I don't think there's a sleeping giant. There's no Taylor Hall on the third line. There's no young guy coming up that you're like, oh, he's gonna take over. Now he's got 20. Big thing, Connor, is like, maybe if James Haggs comes up in March, he gets 20 goals by April. Just
That'd
like
be great.
League by storm, 20 goals in like 10 games. And it's like, oh, forgot about James Haggs. So there we go. I'm getting ahead of that. James Haggs, 20 goals next year. Book it.
Yes,
in a 10-game stretch. 2 goals.
Dan's Lashmelis this year. Buy the hype.
That's right. Buy in, baby. I mean, it is like, I think in future years, with the prospects that they do have, be it someone like Zellers, Lashmelis, Haggs, and I think Haggs at the NHL level is probably going to be more of a distributor. But you're going to have younger guys pop in future years. I think that's something to be encouraged about. This year, I don't know. You know what's something I do know about, Connor?
What's that?
PrizePicks, our friends over at PrizePicks. It's the best place to turn sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. Just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. PrizePicks is the best place to win cash while watching sports. Join millions of users and sign up today. On PrizePicks, you just mix and match player projections from different sports. Combine your favorite basketball players from baseball, hockey, esports, and much more. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus because it's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts, like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts several player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Right now, Connor, Red Sox are rolling. Guys like Trevor Story, Alex Bregman, Roman Anthony, go down up pretty much the entire lineup. Jaron Duran has been cooking recently. So go do that. I love the runs, hits, RBI. I also think there's good value finds. Like when someone has 0.5 hits and they've been hot, like that's a good one to take more on. So download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Start running your game right on over to PrizePicks. Someone you alluded to there when talking about 20 goals and we talked about young guys, Matt Poitras. We talked about him a little bit this offseason in terms of someone who I don't know where he's going to play. I don't know what to expect. And I think that's sort of the big question. What are the expectations for a guy like him? You have Fraser Minton. You brought in a lot of bottom 6 talent in free agency. You have future young guys coming up too. Where's Matt Poitras fit in this?
Yeah, it's a fascinating question because it's almost like he's like a microcosm of what this team is, right? Where it's like, I look at the depth chart and you try to like just map out or project where guys are going to slot in, who's going to play with who, what they're trying to get out of this grouping. And it's like, where does Matt Poitras kind of fit in the equation? Because let's say like the Bruins really blew things up and like we're starting from scratch, or like we're really leaning to the youth movement. And you wanted to say that like, hey, like we saw some stuff we like down in Providence. Like, hey, let's put him in a top 6 spot with, Zaka and Victor Arvidsson. Like if you didn't have Middlestat, that's going to be a guy you put in there. And like, there's no guarantee it's going to work. There's no guarantee he's going to be a 50-point player in that spot, but at least you can kind of figure out what you have in that type of player and whether he can, end up being a legitimate middle 6 player. Now you're in a spot where it's like, all right, well, he could be like your third line center, but who are like going to be his line mates that are going to get the most out of what you want with that type of player, right? It's almost like, when we have done lineup projections, we've put in like Fraser Minton as a guy that probably might be like the favorite for that third line center spot, not because he's the better player than Poitras or anything like that, but he feels like one, he's probably more pro ready right now. And also like, he's not necessarily a guy as a third line center that you're like, oh, Fraser Minton's a guy we know is going to be a 20 goal, 30 assist guy. Like, probably not, right? But like, you look at his skill set and what he does well and his versatility, you can see why he could be a really dependable 3C for the long haul. And it's not like he's got to have to, find chemistry with guys that, that third line is going to be an offensive cheat code or anything like that. So whereas Matt Poitras, it's like, all right, I feel like if you want to maximize his potential, and put him in a spot to succeed, you probably need to put him with shot first, good skating, offensive type of players to really kind of see what you have in that type of player. If you have Matt Poitras, who has a good training camp, but then like he opens the year against Washington on October 8th, and he's got like Tanner Jeannot to his left and insert, unproven right wing, most likely to his right. Okay. Like maybe that can work, but I almost feel like at that point, wouldn't you rather go with a guy like Minton, who probably just is better suited for what that role can kind of be? So it's tough, right? Because I don't think like the shine or the appeal is worn off on Matt Poitras after having, there's still a guy who's just turned 21 a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
But where exactly he does fit into the lineup is interesting. And maybe it just kind of comes into picture off of how he does during training camp and how that changes things. But, it's not like a guy like Minton where you can see where he plays and what his skill set is and be like, oh, that's a third line guy. Maybe Poitras is the 3C, but the supporting cast around him isn't really conducive to, I think, playing to his strengths in that spot.
I agree. I don't think it is either. And this is naive of me to say, and I don't expect this to happen. But what if it goes the other way? What if Matt Poitras has a really good training camp? Like really good and looks good. And he looks like the guy 2 years ago when he showed up at training camp they had to keep. And what if he's in the top 6? Like, what if he ends up being your second line center? I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying, like, what if? Because you mentioned, like, needing a shot first guy. What if he's good enough to put between Zacha and Victor Arvidsson and Middlestat's your 3C or something like that? And then you get into the whole, like, Middlestat, is he a bottom 6 center? Do you want him with Tanner Jeannot or AC Mon or Corrali? Like, you get into that. But, like, there is that other end of it where, like, what if this is kind of a retooling team and maybe Sturm is different with younger players and Poitras does find his way onto that second line? I don't think that's going to happen. That's not like, I don't think that's the most likely thing to happen, but it could. It could. I mean, I don't know.
If that happens.
Bruins would love if that happened. I don't know if a first-year head coach is doing that right out of camp and putting Poitras above established NHL vets, but that could be the spot because you're right. Like, I don't see Fraser Minton bumping into that top 6. I don't think he's that type of player. And then you get into like, does Poitras want to play the wing? Like, would Poitras end up being a third line right wing? I don't think that's ideal. And, maybe he beats out Minton. Maybe he's way better than Minton in camp and Minton's your fourth line center. I don't know. But that's sort of the thing with Poitras is there are a million different possibilities. Does he go back to Providence? Like, that's another end where it's like, do we want him scratched and being on the third or fourth line, or do we want him playing all the time as the number 1 center in Providence? And like, that's another option. So I think the realistic expectation is he's somewhere on that third line. But Minton sort of makes that more difficult. And as I said, like maybe Minton's your fourth line center instead, because that's kind of where he projects as a bottom 6 guy. I don't know. And that's why I think like when Court Lalonde was on Bruins beat, he was like, use Poitras as a trade chip. Go out and get, a good right shot defenseman or something like that. And I'm not ready to give up on Poitras yet, though. But I understand the sentiment where it's like, where's he fit? Not to mention, you have a ton of other young guys coming up in the next couple of years. And I don't know how to say, like the sky seems a little bit tall, the sky seems a little bit more the limit for them. Maybe because we just don't know what they are quite yet. So yeah, that's why Poitras, it's confusing.
It's so tough to kind of like gauge just what he is, right? And I feel like every time you talk about it, right, to your point, Evan, it's not like we're like out on the guy or being like, no, well, he didn't take a big step forward, so like I think this guy's cooked. Like, no, like this is a guy who exceeded expectations 2 years ago, right? That no one was really expecting. And then like before he got hurt was like a pretty productive player, like was making plays happen in October and November, then hits a wall as most people expected, got banged up, and then coming off of major shoulder surgery this past year, like was kind of that bridge gap kind of year for him where he wasn't really able to get things right played well down in Providence. So like, are you making any sweeping declarations off of a player like that who has shown that he can make plays at the NHL level, has shown that he's accelerated his timeline? I think the biggest issue with him isn't like, is this guy worth investing in or anything like that? I think for right now, it's where do you best put him to succeed? And right now I'm like, I don't know where exactly the chips fall there to put him in that spot where, he can take off. If you want to say that he's going to outplay Casey Middlestat and be your second line center, that is a great result for the Bruins, right? Where if they can look at him as being a legit middle six player, and you got James Haggs coming in, you're going to have a pretty undersized top six if those are the two guys.
Have fun going against the Flyers.
But that is still something that you will take in terms of him being in that spot. But it almost feels like, much like how he was 2 years ago, it's going to initially fall on just Poitras himself to prove himself and really kind of change the narrative or force the Bruins' hands in terms of where he's going to best fit. Because if he's just kind of as advertised as to what we're all expecting, then he's going to be in kind of that no man's land limbo of the third line where you don't really know what to expect. If he wants to take a big step forward and challenge a guy like Middlestat or Zacho, whoever the consensus 2C is going to be, then things get interesting. But it's going to fall on him himself to do that during the next couple of months.
Yeah, and you made a good point about this. He is just 21. He's still very young. Like, this is not, he's been around, feels like he's been around a while, but this is not like the end all be all for Matt Poitras. I do think it is interesting though, in terms of you have younger guys coming up too. So like, where is he slotting in? You have bottom six guys signed fairly long term. Where's he fit? And I think that's something that we don't have the answer to right now, obviously, but I think throughout camp, it'll become a little bit more clear. As time goes along. Speaking of going through camp, make sure to subscribe to Bruins Ringside on YouTube. Turn those notifications on. Like the videos. We have a lot coming. Poke the Bear, Pucks with Haggs, Bruins Beat, live streams, interviews, all those different things coming over the next month, 2 months, press conferences throughout the year. And then if you don't like that, if you're not like into us, watching us, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts just to listen to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean. And then obviously there's a lot of other great stuff too. Patriots Press Pass, Celtics All Access. We mentioned the other day on Bruins Beat, Jungle Roar by Mike Petraglia with the Bengals. If you're a big Cincinnati Bengals fan, go subscribe over there. Trags having himself a great time in his banana outfits. So go do
tormenting Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase. I just love how he asked a question. Jamar Chase is laughing. It's like, I gotta
wait, no. Yeah.
I've got to ask. So you can make sure to go do that over there. Third line, Fabian Lysell. You like him for that right wing spot?
Again, it's tough, right? In terms of you like kind of what he showed at the end of this past year. It's so crowded as to, I don't think there's any consensus favorite right now. Like I did while I was away up at Canopy Lake, like a projected lineup of where guys were going to fit in.
As you were going down spots. The Boston Cannonball.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. It was awful. The Boston Tea Party, the water, I was typing
Yankee
on my phone.
Cannonball. It's the Yankee Cannonball, right? Not
and the Boston Tea Party, yeah. So I was going through my lineup, and then I realized like my phone wasn't waterproof, went down, flooded, took out 5 rows of people waiting at the splash zone, but also destroyed my phone. So it took me a while to get the lineup ready. I digress. But when you look at that third line spot on the wing, you've got 5, 6, 7 options. But like, who is the consensus favorite there? I went with like Matej Blumel because I feel like he's got the numbers down in the AHL. He's got a shot first mentality and kind of could fit into that spot. But maybe it's Fabian Lysell, who they gave an extended run last year. Wasn't perfect, but felt like he was playing his best hockey down the stretch. I mean, he set up that Husandinov goal where he just put on the afterburners, made a play he had like a play like when you have NHL be a pro and you max out the speed so you can just skate past everyone and then you just whip around the net and just throw the puck in front and there's some guy trailing who's going to score. Like that's more or less what he does. And you've seen it before with like the skill set that he has. And if that's a guy that if he clicks and does take a big step forward, we mentioned like that third line of like Jeannot and Minton or even Poitras. If you have a highly skilled wing like Lysell who takes a step forward and becomes a 15, 20 goal guy, that changes the whole complexion of that part of your roster. It's just the same thing. Like, I believe it when I see it, right? And I think like the Bruins want to see what he can do to build off of last year. Like, he finally got that first extended opportunity, and after some growing pains, he did play really strong down the end of the year. But is it a guarantee? I wouldn't say so, right? I need to see it more over an extended stretch. I need to see it during training camp, where last year we were talking about this in August and September being like, this is Lysell's time. Like, let's see what he can do. And then he was not good. Like, he had a really poor training camp. So, and you look at, to your point, Evan, of like how many guys they have coming up through the system. There's only so many kicks at the can that Lysell's going to have here, where if he doesn't make this team out of camp, other guys are going to leapfrog him pretty soon. So it's going to be a key year for him. But as much as I like the skill set, I don't think it's like a lock that he's going to be the first guy up there. You'd hope that's the case. Much like I'm sure the Bruins are hoping that Poitras pushes other guys and makes a name for himself. But again, much like how we're hoping that Arvidsson can score 25 and all these guys can do well, I feel like you're projecting more hope than actually looking at reality for right now, at least, as to what a guy like Lysell can do this upcoming year.
Yeah, it's not guaranteed. I think the only thing we can guarantee is that third line is going to change quite a bit. Third line right winger is not going to be the same opening night as it will be in November, December. Like, it's going to change quite a bit. Whether that player boosts up in the lineup and they have to play, they deserve more minutes, or they get demoted, sent to level 9, sent to Providence. And Lysell's another young one. Like, I was looking at Blumel's 25. Lysell is still like 22. So he's still young. Like, that's the other thing, right? Like, he could pop one of these years, or he could be a guy that's really skilled that just can't really stick in the NHL. That happens quite a bit. So I agree with you. I think if Lysell can be a guy who gives you 15, 20 goals, you are cooking, you are happy. He might end up just in your top 6. But I don't know. Blumel's there too. Steves is there as well. Does Poitras get a look on the wing? There's a lot of questions there. And it's good. It's a crowded room. And I think what we've seen so far from Lysell early in his career is that, with competition, it hasn't worked out as great getting him up into the NHL. And even last year, it felt like, we're leaving a spot open, and he didn't really seize it. So it's going to be, what can he do this year to grab that opportunity and run with it? And I know there are some people who are already out on him. I still think it's a little early. He doesn't have a lot of trade value. So people who are like, just trade him. Like, yeah, what are you getting? Like, be realistic. So the more valuable thing is give him some runway, see what he can do, see if he can grab hold of it in training camp and what he can do in the preseason games, and go from there. Like, we're not going to know who the third line right wing is right now, and I can't confidently sit here and be like, it's going to be Fabian Lysell, because I don't have confidence in saying yes or no to that, or to anyone in that spot. Yeah. So we'll see. Lysell's, it's funny. Most years it's like the top 6. You're like, oh, who's going to get in there? Feels like we have a pretty good idea. Like, there's a base understanding of that top 6. It's the bottom 6 that it's like that. Like, who's going to be in there? Who's going to be in what spot? Conor, what can the people look forward to from you over at the Globe and Boston.com?
Yeah, you can read my stuff over at the Globe and Boston.com. We'll have you covered every step of the way this Bruins offseason going into the 2025-26 season. We'll have you covered every step of the way, whether it's looking at roster battles, camp storylines, Marco Sturman, how he does his first year, all that stuff we'll have in the coming weeks going into the new season. So please subscribe again over at Boston Globe, and please read my stuff over at Boston.com. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, X, whatever you call it these days, you can at Conor Ryan _93.
Go do all that. That's Conor Ryan. I'm Evan Marinofski. Poke the Bear listeners. Have a great rest of your week.